So hello and welcome to this session. We are the Minerva Now Women's Leadership Course class of 2021. We are a group of women working across health and social care in the UK who have been doing a leadership and development course this year. This is all of us on the programme so that you can see all of the faces that are behind the scenes here. So we're producing a mini-series of videos and hosting a Twitter chat exploring the future of work post-pandemic. There are 2 sessions on this channel already that explore the opportunities and challenges of flexible working. This session follows on as a practical session to discuss what flexible working can be like and how people make it work. So I will stop the screen share so we can see who is in the room here with us today. So I am joined by Kate, who is on the programme as well as myself. So we've both been working on the Minerva Now for the last year, haven't we, Kate? So thank you for joining us. And then Sarah is joining and she is in Kate's team. And they are both managers within CCG within the NHS. And I'm going to ask Sarah and Kate to introduce themselves. First of all, so can you tell us a bit about yourselves and what led you to consider flexible working? Should we go to Kate first?
Thanks, Kirstin. So I've worked in the NHS for about 15 years. I came in on the graduate scheme and I had quite a traditional career path, working long hours and changing roles about every 2 to 3 years with promotion. And first child, and I now have 2 young children. I wanted to work flexibly, to have time with my children before they started school, and also pragmatically, because even though I have a very well paid job, the cost of childcare is still considerable. I also wanted to continue my career because I feel I've worked very hard for it over the years and I didn't want to give that up when I had children. Sarah, what about you?
To me, so I've been in the NHS for about 17 years now. Kind of fell in to a standard band 2 position and I've worked my way up to a management position now. Again, similarly to Kate, I have kind of progressed through just normal promotion and exposure and work experience. I wouldn't say I've really chosen to work flexibly. My husband, so I've got 2 children, both at primary school and preschool age. My husband's in the armed forces. And so I just don't have the consideration of him being around to help support that childcare. So my kind of working pattern and everything is really around my children. Unfortunately, school age has made that more difficult. Nursery is a lovely age because, you know, things are open and you can fit more hours into the day. Primary school makes things a little bit more difficult. But yeah, I mean, going forward, you know, my hope is that I can continue to work flexibly. The pandemic has been great to allow me to spend more time with my children. But yeah, that career progression is always kind of on your mind and how that works.
Thank you both. It's really interesting to sort of understand your career path and the context there. So what are your current working patterns? How does that look for you at the moment, Kate?
So I am incredibly fortunate that I've recently had a job share agreed. What that means is I've got a job share partner. I work 3 long days a week, Wednesday to Friday. So that means my core hours are 8 to 5 and my job share partner works the other end of the week and we have a day to be in the same place or not anymore, I guess, remotely, but to have time to catch up and hand over. And you, Sarah?
Yeah, so I do 32 hours over 5 days. Again, pandemic has sort of changed that. So I used to do my hours over 4 days. And then, yeah, I've been able to now do that drop off and pick up from school due to lack of wraparound care because of COVID. Yeah, I spread my hours over more days. No job share for me. But yeah, but also fitting into that, I do a master's, so I also have to fit in my study time around this kind of start and finish.
Thank you. I wonder when you actually sleep within that, Sarah. Okay, so the question everyone wants to know about, so how do you make this work practically? And should we come to you first, Sarah, this time?
Yeah, whenever people ask me that, it's like they're always expecting me to give them some secret, some kind of clue to how I do it. I think I'm a planner. Kate, obviously working with me, knows that I'm a planner. I do have to plan down to every minute of every day to ensure that I get the most out of it. I do sleep, actually. I think sleep is really, really important. My general well-being is really, really important. So, I factor in when I do my own well-being. So like even just trying to walk the dog every day, all of that is planned into my time. But yeah, it's just planning. So thinking, right, okay, what do I have to get done and when? And I just try not to procrastinate over anything. And that's sort of my secret, that's it.
I completely agree with you, Sarah. I think you need that laser focus on what your deliverables are and how you're going to get those done when you work flexibly or part-time, because I think the presenteeism isn't really a possibility. You can't be everywhere. So the way that you can be productive is to focus on what's most important. And I think that actually delivers a lot more for patients at the end of the day. From my perspective, my job share partner and I would say we do more of a job split than a job share. So we both take a lead on different areas of the portfolio, essentially because that's the most efficient way so that we don't duplicate effort. However, we work closely so that we can cover each other, so that if there is a meeting for me on a Monday afternoon, my job share partner can cover it and take back things for me so that my absence isn't noticed. I think that it's important for me to have regular conversations with my job share partner. So that happens all the time. But we have a dedicated hour once a week on a Wednesday where we can hand over and talk about how we're managing our workload. I think the other thing I would say about a job share is I've been surprised at how much support it's provided to me personally. It's like having a really good friend who's doing the same job as you, who can, say, well, I'd approach this in a different way. Have you thought of this? Have you seen this? And personally, I feel it gives me a lot of support, and it makes doing my job a bit more positive.
Yeah, obviously not having a job share, it's like slight bias. Obviously, I'm sat here with my line manager, but yeah, being able to bounce those ideas and have that support is really, really key. Being able to kind of air what's going on in the day and being able to reprioritize with somebody is always really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone would love a buddy in that way, wouldn't they? That's great. Have you encountered any problems then? Kate, do you want to start us off with that one?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that any problems really that I've encountered are probably as a result of the fact it's still not the norm for people to work flexibly or work part-time, certainly within our system. And there aren't many role models of senior leaders who work that way. So as a practical example, I've run into difficulties taking my annual leave. I worked a lot during the COVID pandemic, working weekends in the Incident Control Centre and on call. And I really struggled to take that time back, because only working 3 days a week, actually, when you have annual leave, that is a big chunk out of your working week. So, and I did hear feedback from people saying, oh, she's always on holiday. And I found that really difficult to manage. So I think going forward, I have to plan my annual leave quite carefully, because I'm already absent for 2 days a week. So I like to plan in advance and ensure that there are cover arrangements in place. But I think the thing that's universal, I mean, that's about my particular working pattern, but I think the thing that's universal is probably about how you respond to requests that come in outside your normal working hours. And from my perspective, there has to be a degree of flexibility. There are some meetings for which I will come in because I think they are that important. But if I said yes to everything, I just wouldn't be able to maintain my working pattern. And I think exercising that judgment is really difficult. And you always second guess yourself, I think. What do you think, Sarah?
Completely agree. I mean, even before started down that kind of working route, I've had a horrible history of managers in the past, both within the NHS and pre-NHS. And so it certainly made me really conscious of, when starting to think about that flexible working, how to phrase how the work was going to be done. So there's, I started off with very much a attitude of, well, you're doing full-time in part-time hours. There wasn't a reduction of how that workload would be split. It was kind of having to justify how you were going to get everything done. I think there's been a bit of change to that, but would agree with Kate, that taking of annual leave is always quite a hard conversation to have. Like I said, my husband's in the forces. I don't really get an option of when he is around. He is forced to take his leave when he has to. They have to fit it into, when they're booking exercises and stuff. So even more so now with school holidays, I really have to think, okay, well, what are the alternatives? A lot of that is down to me personally, because I've made the decision of where to live. We could have followed him around the country, but actually I've chosen for my well-being of my children not to move them around. But yeah, having those conversations about how you get work covered in your annual leave, can sometimes be difficult.
Sarah, I think one of the really amazing things about you is you're doing a master's at the moment, despite your despite everything that you're managing professionally and personally. Did you have any pause in doing that because of how much you've going on? How did you feel about that?
There was always a level of anxiety about doing that, but as I say to others around me, my team, there's never the right time to do anything in life. You can choose to have children when you want to, you can decide when you want to get married, but actually things will happen when nature decides it's going to happen. So for me, taking that plunge of doing my master's, actually, I just needed to take the plunge and see what was going to happen. And again, manage myself around it. So I already have my day kind of planned out really, really well. So I knew that I was going to have a few hours in an evening to do study. That's sort of fine. There is still something around how I do my study time with support in hours. Particularly, I mean, yesterday I had a seminar, and actually I've been made aware of more work that's coming my way with my masters, and Kate is smiling because she knows that I instantly went, I've got all this stuff coming, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. But again, that's where it's having that relationship with people to be open and honest about how you're feeling and how you're going to juggle, and just to get another eyeball of kind of how you manage those priorities coming up. Actually I've slept on it now, and I'm less panicky because I know that it's just about reflecting back and thinking, but there is always that initial, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to phase and plan all this. I think actually a lot of my ability to manage I've got from my mum. So I'm from a single parent family, and my mum has had to juggle. And so I've seen, she has set such a good example to me that I've seen it work for her, and she did it on her own with family away. And so I've tried to kind of implement some of that for myself. And I feel really lucky that my husband works away, but at least he's need him for that moral support. So I never feel like I should really complain about feeling overworked or stressed about flexible working. And I am really lucky at the position I'm in now that I am surrounded by a good team, and we're open and honest with each other. And that is just key to making flexible working really work. You have to be honest.
I think that's really interesting, Sarah. I think that role model of it's possible to do it is just so important.
Yeah, and I think that's where
sometimes a bit like you're reinventing the wheel, can't it?
Yeah, and I think that's what's important about juggling the time. It's our responsibility to act as our role models to new people that are coming in. So through our organisation, we have our coffee roulette stuff, and I've been meeting a lot of kind of junior staff lately, and you know, it's saying to them that it's all right, you know, and there are opportunities out there, and kind of spreading that experience, and you know, being able to role model. So, you know, like you said about using your annual leave, actually you need to set that role model of, you don't come in on your working days, because else you start to set a precedence for other people thinking, I've got to come in or I've got to work late. So, you know, it's, you know, that's how we need to operate, really.
That's really inspiring to hear both of you reflect on that in that way. And I think those kind of messages will be really helpful for anyone watching this that might be considering flexible working and is maybe a bit unsure. Before we close, I wondered if you could both give us your top tip for making this work. Kate, what would be yours?
Well, I was going to talk about focusing on deliverables, but I think Sarah's already nailed that. I think I'd probably say that more is possible than you think. I didn't appreciate that a job share would be an option for me, but actually following a really open conversation with my line manager about how I was feeling, how I was managing, and really what the needs of the business were, that's something that has been able to be agreed. So, you know, don't assume that it's not possible for you because you don't see anyone else doing it. Have an open-minded conversation.
Lovely. And Sarah, what's yours?
Well, now I've got to follow that. You know, I 100% agree with what Kate has just said. Yeah, it is possible to achieve, you know, everything. You know, you are able to continue to progress, even, you know, flexibly working. Don't see it as a negative. The world shouldn't see flexible working as a negative. You know, the fact that you are able to operate and, you know, manage more than one you know, thing in your life, that is a huge positive, and you need to reflect back and really kind of see what you're achieving. You know, everything, you can manage everything, it'll be fine.
I love that. That's wonderful. So thank you everyone for taking the time to engage with this video today. If you are interested in knowing more, you can check out the other videos in our mini series on this YouTube channel. And we'd love to hear from you too. So if you have any thoughts to add in, we'll be hosting a Twitter chat on Flexible Working Day, which is the 2nd of June. Between 6 and 7 p.m. So please join us and the rest of the Minerva Now class of 2021 participants and join in with the conversation on Twitter. Thank you very much. And thank you so much, Sarah and Kate, for sharing your stories today.